Greetings and salutations, friends, and welcome back to Truthseekers. Happy to be here with you tonight and take a detour of sorts from our usual topics. Many of our audience members and listeners have asked me to cover cryptocurrency, but me not being any sort of expert, though I did have some early adventures in crypto coin mining, I've kind of shied away from that subject. But, I found someone that I believe knows an incredible, he is a wealth of information about cryptocurrency, its history, its implications, and its technology. So at that point, I thought, now we can talk about crypto. But I want to be very clear in saying that, first of all, I don't endorse any cryptocurrency. And we are certainly not giving any financial advice. If you want financial advice, go to a financial, counselor who can help you make decisions. We're not here to do that. More, we are here to discuss and explore the technology that is cryptocurrency and its worldwide social and economic implications into the future. So, without further ado, I'll bring in my guest tonight, Shem Booth-Spain. Good to have you here.
Thank you very much, Stephen. It's been a pleasure to join you on the show today.
Yeah, I hope I did enough homework.
We all
Shem is
try.
real big on data. He is big on data, and he can send me hordes of it and to pour through, and maybe we'll get to sharing some of that tonight. But I thought I would ask you really like to get into some of the history, the origins first of where this
Yeah.
phenomenon came from.
Okay, so first of all, as you've correctly said, Stephen, this isn't about us talking about people to buy Bitcoin or buy cryptocurrencies. So I'm going to reiterate what Stephen said and said, uh, in no means whatsoever are we or I or Stephen advocating to buy any crypto. Go and see a financial advisor. In fact, you're probably going to have your cryptocurrency dream decimated. But once we decimate it, we're going to build it back up because there has been an incredible innovation of blockchain technology and it's been lost in the plethora of noise and casino style Ponzi scheme scamming that's been proliferated through crypto. And so I'll give a quick synopsis. So I come from an arts background. I studied fine art. I did a master's in sonic culture. Began doing a PhD. Ran out of money.
Yeah, that
Was working in the
happens. Yeah.
advertising industry for 12 years in central London. In 2014, I got some BTC, and I'll be very specific when I talk about cryptocurrencies. What I would consider Bitcoin as a protocol in which a certain set of rules is not what Bitcoin is today. And we're going to break that down. We've got diagrams and things we can show. So this isn't about hoodling, or holding a coin so that people can sell it, okay? With
Mm-hmm.
no fundamental utility. The first thing I was going to say actually is just for us to kickstart the conversation. Why don't you quickly say your Bitcoin crypto story, Stephen, to give us some
Oh, I
context?
might get no. Yeah, we were talking about this real quickly in the green room. I first became aware of crypto when there was only Bitcoin. That was the
Mhm.
only coin, and a friend of
BTC. Yeah.
yes, BTC. So a friend of mine comes to me, knowing of my interest in building very powerful computers, and said, there's this thing called crypto, and he gave me sort of an overview and an education into BTC and how you could mine for the coins and they would give you real money for computing time. That was my initial understanding of it. And I was also at the time happened to be in charge of a very large computer network for a university. So first I began building computers in my garage and computer networks in my garage to run the Bitcoin mining software, and then I got sort of addicted to this free money. Like, this is amazing. I set up this program and I run this miner, and after enough computational cycles, a Bitcoin appears.
Hmm.
And I get money for this. And at the time, I don't even remember what the price was at, but it was nothing like it was now. But it was still, to me, like, exciting. So then I got the bright idea that there was hundreds, thousands of computers on this university's network, that were doing nothing for most for 16 hours a day. They were in use during the day. Students would
Right.
come in like to the libraries and the research centers where there was hundreds of workstations that they could use, and then by 6 o'clock at night, there was nothing going on the network. So I started installing Bitcoin mining clients on every computer across the whole university network. And then I started mining through that way. But very quickly, the my bosses, called me into their office because they wanted to know why all the CPUs were pegged at like 90 to 95% for 16 hours a day and what was going on. And luckily, I didn't get prosecuted. I almost lost my job. I had to sign a waiver that I would
What
never.
date? What date was that? If you mind me
Oh,
asking.
I don't even remember. Like I said, it was the beginning of Bitcoin, so it would have
Mm.
been very, very, very early on in Bitcoin. And then,
216 to two
yeah,
fourteen
maybe.
maybe.
Yeah, yeah. And then I did go back to a strategy I had, which was to find old uh, servers that people were replacing, and kind of like those ThinkStation servers with Xeon, processors and multi-core processors. But at some point, I gave up because everybody jumped into the mining. And then it became increasingly and increasingly more difficult to mine effectively, especially when you're paying for the
Mm.
electricity and all this kind of stuff. And at some point, the electric bill wasn't as much as the crypto earnings every month.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point,
Profitability
yeah, at this point I
is
gave up and lost all interest, but I have kept tabs on what happened with the proliferation of all these different coins and with a lot of the shady side of stuff that happened
mm,
and what I got nervous, like I don't know that I want. At some point, things got really, really
dark.
shady.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they did.
dark.
They did.
And I said I
Wait,
don't want to be involved in this at all.
yeah, let me jump in there. So okay, so just backtrack everyone. So obviously in the early days people were mining with their laptops, all this kind of stuff, and then specialized hardware ASICs started to be used, and mining became centralized. And often people bound a lot of terminology around decentralized as a magic word, and actually only 9 major mining pools or miners support the BTC network at the moment. Let me just kind of just get as much information out, and then we'll backtrack and glide over it. So
For
um,
sure.
many people don't actually know that the BTC protocol, the code that makes up the DNA of so-called Bitcoin, but I call it by what its ticker is, which is BTC, has actually morphed over the years. So it's been Frankenstein. So op codes which enabled functionality, and BTC has moved from a electronic cash network. And I'd actually implore people to read the white paper, because the white paper sets out the parameters of the protocol. And what's happened is it's essentially, Stephen, been Frankensteined over the years. So you'll hear by crypto influencers say, "Oh yeah, decentralized store of gold." Well, as we know, a speculative asset, if it has no underlying utility, no usage, um, then it has no real value, because essentially what it is a speculative asset, right? So
Hmm.
BTC currently does around 3 transactions a second, which is absolutely dismal, right? And there's actually the history of, over the years, the centralized developers changed the protocol, and a company called Blockstream essentially subverted the coding of Bitcoin, Stephen. And what that's led to is Vitalik Buterin, who was the founder of Ethereum, forking away from Bitcoin to do smart contracts and the so-called Bitcoin computer, which they proclaim Ethereum to do. Ethereum does 8 transactions a second, right? And obviously, people were incentivized by profit making. So the Bitcoin dream, the blockchain dream, Stephen, of people building a financial payment network for the humanity has kind of been washed away and replaced by a casino royal of a myriad of different coins, right? And
Sure.
I'd like to bring some diagrams, if that's up, if that's okay with you, mate.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
So let's we're gonna have a tour, people, and Stephen, you just stop me and ask questions that sort of thing. And the troll box, feel free to jump in. So I don't know if you can see at the moment. So on the right here, I've actually got a map of the different protocol changes that happen where Litecoin and Dogecoin and Ethereum and nearly, we've got about 11,000 coins that have separated. Yeah. And what happened was there was an argument, a very famous argument about scaling BTC. And what happened was that the developers and people that were self-interests in keeping the mining and the control of Bitcoin, right? They withheld the scalability of that, right? I don't want to get into the drama of all that stuff. I'm sure there's lots of trolls out there
Yeah,
who want
there's certainly a lot of interesting characters involved in
to.
cryptocurrency, right?
There is, but the key point is about unlocking the scalability, and the people that wanted to keep the block size of how many transactions in one block, they wanted to keep it at 1 megabyte, whereas in the white paper it said about increasing the scale of Bitcoin, so it wouldn't be on little Raspberry Pis in bedrooms. Yeah, it would be on huge server farms that could farm massive amounts of transactions. Are you listening here, people? Because it's going to get deeper, right? We're just getting to the edge of the rabbit hole, right? So what's happened at the moment is that Bitcoin Cash forked away from BTC, and what happened was that they kept the principles of the original Bitcoin protocol in a cash-like quality, right? And then what happened was about two and a bit years ago, Bitcoin Cash wanted to add some contentious protocol changes, Avalanche, CTOR, and these technologies would have changed the DNA, the structure of the original Bitcoin, the genuine Bitcoin, if you like, right? So what happened is that the people within that group of Bitcoin Cash, they had a hash war. We talk about that. That's where different miners compete, right? And
Hmm.
they forked away. So they forked away from Bitcoin Cash, and essentially, Stephen, restored Bitcoin back to the original protocol. They called that the returning of Genesis. Basically, enabling all the DNA that enables smart contracts, programmability, scalability, and things like tokens, AI, virtual reality on chain. When I use the term on chain, what we mean is on a blockchain, on Bitcoin. Now, a lot of people, you might see this chart up in front of us, you'd think, well, BTC is the most expensive coin, so it's got to be the best, right? But we're in a topsy-turvy mirage world where if you added up all these market caps, they'd amount to a ridiculous, ludicrous amount of money, right? And a lot of these are speculative assets and securities. And we know that the hand of law is slow and methodical and grinds very slowly.
Yeah, and
But
there's
what,
isn't there complicated issues because some countries may allow certain things and other countries may not allow certain
well,
things.
I'm
It's
not a
very
legal expert,
complicated.
but there is securities law where you can't just make a token and say, right, each token's $1, so now we've got $1 billion company. Me and Steve create a cryptocurrency, Truthseekers crypto coin, and then say each coin is $1, and then sell them, and then we've got $1 billion crypto company, and that's been happening. And there's things like Tether, right, which is number 3 in this kind of charts here, right, which is currently being run through the SEC. There's loads of scamminess. I mean, I'll be quite brutal, people. People buy all these different coins with no understanding of the underlying utility. A lot of these coins can't be used in any way whatsoever, right? And that's a bit of a dangerous thing because, think about it. Think of how many people have essentially lost money, and 95% of traders lose money, and everyone is chasing this, oh, this coin's going up, so it's the best coin. But everyone's lost the principle of what this blockchain technology is capable of doing. I would actually like to show a quick video, right? This is a 1 minute video that summarizes completely what we're going to be talking about further down the rabbit hole. So let me play this.
You got to click share audio. Try doing that again.
Hold on.
Yeah, you have to
Share or
share audio. Here, I'll remove it. Try a new share, and then there's a button at the bottom that says share audio. So you want to share browser tab and then click share audio and go to the video tab.
might not be able to do that. Let's have a look. Oh, there we go. There we go. We're going to be able to do this.
That button is the bane of my existence. I forget to click share audio all the time.
The bane of our existence, ladies and gentlemen.
They won't change it. The people that make this software won't change
So,
it.
so Calvin Ayre is a incredible entrepreneur, billionaire, businessman, and founder of Tau Mining. I believe Tau Mining is one of the largest Bitcoin miners in the world, who generate massive amounts and process massive amounts of transactions. And Bitcoin mining has evolved from, small computers in universities. Beg your pardon, Stephen. It's now in huge power station farms, where transaction processing from different applications is done. Now, this can't be done on BTC and Bitcoin Cash because they only process a small amount of transactions. But the world we're heading towards, where a globally a massive payment network with an internet rolled all into one, is where this technology leads to, ladies and gentlemen. So I do want to play this short video to give you some context, right?
BSV also, because of how much it scales, is the best platform for putting stable coins on. And you'll see that starting to happen over the next 12 months. And eventually, all stable coins will be on BSV because of how it scales. But the reality is that as BSV becomes more and more dominant, and in fact, eats the world, as I like to say, BSV itself, the native token, becomes a stable coin just from the law of big numbers. Well, because BSV scales infinitely, every country in the world could actually operate their central bank currency, digital currency, on top of BSV, in addition to all the other stuff BSV.
And there's a lot to digest. It says CBCDs, which is government-backed fiat currencies based on blockchain, and that can only be done. And I know it's one of the people going, "Oh, shilling BSV," right? So I just want to say, ladies and gentlemen, that I'm not here to shill BSV. I'm talking about the real technical fundamentals of what is occurring in the cryptocurrency market. And I wouldn't say that Bitcoin, and when I say Bitcoin, I actually don't refer to BTC as Bitcoin, because the protocol has been morphed over the years. Anyone that used Bitcoin or BTC in in the early days knows that it did instant zero confirmation transactions. It had the ability to scale, and the operational codes that allowed it to do all sorts of kind of wizardry were essentially cut out as the years went by, right? So if people were just interested in number go up, yeah, that's losing the essence of the blockchain revolution. That's losing the superpowers of what Bitcoin can be, right? And also I want to talk about the energy efficiency, because when the input of when it takes a lot of mining power to generate a small amount of transactions, then essentially you're looking at a very energy intensive blockchain. And here on this chart is a comparison of the proof of work blockchains. Okay, so you can see that BTC is taking about 87 megawatts, right? And look, in terms of the throughput, I mean, you're looking at BSV doing currently today 100,000 transactions a second. And the reason why that BSV is able to scale is because its network topology is the same as the original Bitcoin protocol, right? And what I mean by that is BTC has morphed into a mesh network where Raspberry Pis validate the network. And rather than...
I'm a big fan of Raspberry Pi.
Well, a Raspberry Pi has its use, but if we're talking about a global, interstellar, potentially payment network with an internet rolled in at the same, then Raspberry Pis just ain't going to cut the mustard. And there's a saying as well, an internet built on Bitcoin, and what that means is, I was one of the first people to, and there's many others out there that uploaded audio files onto the BSV blockchain, right? And what that means is, think about it. If you can upload audio files, video files, content on and websites onto the blockchain, then you don't need a traditional internet. So we're talking about a whole new next generation internet that is emerging at this moment, right? And this is so massively powerful beyond just simple money or a so-called store of value. And someone says transactions done on BSV are done by devs of their apps, not actual users. It's all smoke and mirrors. That's not true at all. And we'll actually look at the network traffic running through in a moment, okay? And the reason why that's not true is because a number of applications, the wallets on BSV allow things like zero confirmation transactions. They allow the ability for people to be able to do human to human transactions. But the beauty of original real Bitcoin, right? It's not just about human to human. It's machine to machine. It's applications, decentralized applications. So with Ethereum, you could be building applications, but if you can't do a transaction because it costs $15 to do a transaction, then your application ain't going to be able to work efficiently. So just for instance, ladies and gentlemen, I'm the CEO and my business partner as well is in the chat as well. We're building a next generation music streaming platform on BSV that pays artists instantly, split payments, all sorts of wizardry. And we wouldn't be able to do that on Ethereum or BTC. BTC because it hasn't got any of the DNA of the original Bitcoin, right? But that has been re-enabled on BSV. So I'm talking technological fact, and I'm talking the cold reality. You know, people are very mobilized by the financial gain of cryptocurrencies. Oh, numbers going up, or this is the new coin, Stephen. So I'm going to buy into that, right? Whereas they're not actually understanding any of the technical fundamentals. So this is a very important chart as well. I want to show you guys, and I want you to pay attention because here we've got a comparison of the 4 SHA coins. So I bet you would have loved a chart like this a few years ago when you was mining. This basically shows on the left here, BTC, it shows 98% of all SHA miners, Stephen, are on BTC, right? They're all mining. They're all mining on BTC, right? But look at the transactions that are coming through. So 28.63% of transactions are coming through, yeah, and the block sizes, right? And there's about 9 different miners on that network, right? And as we've seen from the energy consumption chart that I showed you a moment ago, which is all scientific, provable fact, right? This isn't an efficient network. Whereas if we look at Bitcoin Cash, for instance, there's 3 different miners mining the network, and they're not generating hardly any transactions, right? Or network nodes, or hash rate, right? But it's clearly the red and the yellow happening here. So let me explain what's happening here, ladies and gentlemen. BSV, right, has got 0.27% of the hash rate. So that means 0.27% of all the Bitcoin miners in the world are mining this coin, right? And look how many transactions they are accounting for. And look how much of the block size is. That's every 10 minutes, the heartbeat of Bitcoin. Yeah, a new block is generated with transactions in there. Now, this is where it's going to get a bit techie, ladies and gentlemen. So forgive me, and I'm not the best technical person by any means in the world, but I'm going to try to break this down to you. Something really incredible happened recently. Every 10 minutes, the miners compete to validate the block to receive the reward, right? So here you can see on the left, 1 minute ago, F2 people mined a block on the BTC network. Now they received a few BTC or whatnot for the reward of doing that, just like you did, Stephen, when you was a Bitcoin miner. You're waiting for those coins, you're getting all your hash rate on there, you've got loads of computer power, you're rubbing your hands together, collecting those BTCs, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what happens on BSV is, and this is the correct network topology as per the Bitcoin white paper, and this is a trend you're going to be seeing more and more as time goes by, and there's plenty of charts we can look at, but I don't want to bore everyone, but I want people to pay attention, right? Not only do miners make money from block rewards on BSV, but they make money through validating transactions. So if I've got a music app, like my company Blaircast, that generates music transactions, yeah? So we send machine-to-machine app transactions, yeah? And they're validated by a miner. Not only does the miner make a reward with the block through the traditional mechanism, but they make transaction rewards. Now, over time, the block reward is halvening. So it's called the halvening. What happens is as time goes by, the BTC network and the other networks, right? They make less and less money as time goes by. And eventually the price won't be supported by the reward that the miners get. And what happens when you don't make enough money mining, Stephen?
You quit. Yeah.
Exactly. And what happens to the network when the miners fall off chain? Can you answer that?
No, I can't. I don't know
It's something called chain
what happens
death. Because if the miners have no profit, or they have no incentive to mine the network, and they're just wasting electricity, then the transactions start not going through. So basically, what happened recently was that miners on BSV received more value from the transactions than they did the block reward. And if this trend keeps on continuing, then it's going to be more valuable for the other Bitcoin miners on the other three chains to mine on BSV, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. So this is a metric that we're looking at, a technical fundamental, where the other coins could end up breaking. Yeah. Because the price and yeah, Bitcoin. Well, someone said a
Yeah, I was going to
BSV block
ask if you can
rewards around
explain this.
$800. Bitcoin blocks, BTC blocks have around $300,000. Yeah, but what happens in 18 months' time when there's so many applications on BSV that 300,000 is 600,000 on BSV? Yeah, so this is what people have got to look at, because the metric of the block rewards occurring over time is growing on BSV in terms of the amount of applications. So take a look at this chart down on the bottom right. This is the accumulated Bitcoin blockchain growth. Hold on, sorry. This is the accumulated Bitcoin. Bitcoin. This is the amount of data going on the blockchains. Yeah. Now, because BTC can't scale, it does 3 transactions a second. It used to be able to scale, but it doesn't no more, right? Whereas we've got this continued growth on BSV, and it's keeping it going, and it's real usage. Here we've got a bit of an interesting chart where someone was jumping in. The block sizes on BTC, they have no real usage, because you can only do 300,000 transactions a day on BTC, right?
Mm-hmm.
Also, the scalability of the network. How can BTC compete with Visa when it does 3 transactions a second? When BSV used to do 50,000 a few months ago, but has broken its record 100,000 transactions a second, right? And what happens when it's 1 million transactions a second next year, which they're aiming to achieve, Stephen? Yeah. Visa is in the smoke, is in the rearview mirror. Yeah. Metaphorically. Okay. Also, I want to jump onto the fact that at the moment there is an important case in the crypto universe that isn't discussed a lot, which is Dr. Craig Wright. Dr. Craig Wright is an Australian polymath with over 20 degrees. He's a very intelligent person. He's been in the crypto Bitcoin space since the very dawn, and there is a case where he is basically um, in court to find out, well, not find out, and I'm probably not going to do this as well, but he's in court basically to prove that he's Satoshi Nakamoto, and there's something called the Tulip Trust. Are you familiar with the Tulip Trust?
No, not familiar at all. I'm
So
familiar with the named,
so at the very early days of Bitcoin BTC, right? Literally within the first couple of months, right? Satoshi Nakamoto, the supposed founder of Bitcoin, well, we know he's the supposed founder of Bitcoin. He mined 1 million BTC, and then he put them in a trust called the Tulip Trust. And that means if you have a fork of the BTC network, right, then that means if you've got 1 million BTC, you can smash down any other fork of the coin. Yeah. And Dr. Craig Wright is in court, and and he's arguing with the brother of one of the people that he worked with about they want half of the coins. This sort, you're not in a court case unless you're the person involved in that from the very beginning. Dr. Craig Wright also explained about Turing completeness on Bitcoin in 2000, and I think it was 14 or 15, and was laughed out the room in the conference, right? And recently we had a Turing complete. I'm going to smash Lightning Network down, so the person ain't going to like that when I get to Lightning Network, because Lightning Network is nothing to do with, it's a proof of stake mesh network that is not a blockchain. And when you use Lightning Network, you destroy the fundamental value of the underlying currency. So anyone talking about Salvador and the problems they're having with Lightning Network doesn't understand the technology at all. And this is the problem. A lot of people think they know about cryptocurrency or Bitcoin and stuff like that, but they don't understand. They haven't done their research. And what I'm trying to do is just let people know about the reality that, unfortunately, there is a very scammy um, crypto casino. And just because it's called BTC or Bitcoin on the exchange, a ticker is not the protocol. If I went to you, Stephen, and said, "Oh, this protocol is called Shem," and it's the real Bitcoin. Well, you'd say, well, just because you call it that doesn't make it.
Yeah, what about all the
Because a
other ones?
protocol
Yeah.
means a set of rules, a set of DNA. Imagine, if the DNA is changed, yeah, then
Hmm.
it's not its original form or iteration. Now, don't get me wrong, we all want to make a buck, we all want to be successful, we want to be wealthy, but 90% of the herd is poured into this avalanche of, quite frankly, shitcoins, yeah? When there's up to 11,000 of them, yeah? And all these different exchanges perpetuating the notion of multiple coins. The original day, there was supposed to be one coin and everyone to build their coins on top of it. But because the DNA of BTC was changed and morphed, right, it's made it so that we haven't got this original protocol no more. Yeah. So that's why, by re-enabling this technology, by re-enabling the protocol, the original version of Bitcoin, we're able to do things like the metanet. And the metanet is an internet built on Bitcoin, and it's a very new concept, right? The metanet is a term given to a value-based internet built on the Bitcoin SV ledger. The metanet can be used to refer to either the concept of value-based internet built on Bitcoin, because, as you know, Stephen, the internet didn't come native, right, with monetary.
Yeah, people had to build. People had to build a way
Yeah,
to
we got
transfer funds
PayPal, we got
monetarily.
stuff like that, but global remittance is slow. There's no way that BTC can compete with global remittance. And even Lightning Network is centralized by the very definition of it. So, you've got these watchtowers, you've got people that lost money on it. And when you take, for instance, when you take Bitcoin, BTC coins off the network, off the blockchain, it's not a blockchain no more. It becomes a centralized controlled mesh network, or DLT. So when people say, just as an example, Stephen, in about 2017, there was a contentious protocol change that was pushed through a Sybil attack, essentially, where non-mining nodes, Raspberry Pis, signaled a protocol change of SegWit, segregated witness, and segregated witness was sold to the BTC community under the pretense that, oh yeah, this is going to make it faster, we're going to be able to do Lightning Network using this technology. But what no one realizes is that segregated witness means you take the signatures of the sign-in off chain. You're not you're changing BTC to be not a blockchain, right? You know,
Yeah.
so and why is that important? Because the concept was of security of a single blockchain in which other coins could be built on top of it, and the programmability of Bitcoin could be unparalleled and unbounded, so that you could build applications on top of it. Otherwise, and that's why we have Ethereum. If people do their history, Vitalik Buterin, he wanted to be able to do smart contracts on BTC, so he
Hmm.
just went and made his
Yeah,
other coin.
the blockchain was supposed to be for a lot. The blockchain technology was originally envisioned for a multitude of purposes besides just the coin aspect, right?
Yeah, it was supposed to be this internet. It was, it was going to have applications for, autonomous organizations, of streamlining, processes. But all of that's been re-enabled. So where are we at the moment, then, ladies and gentlemen? At the moment, right now, this technology has been re-enabled on the BSV blockchain. Right, we are seeing an explosion of building. We're seeing an explosion of apps. So, for instance, we've got a video game that come out called Crypto Fights. That's a bit like Dungeons and Dragons. We're looking at a chart here, ladies and gentlemen, that shows the applications on BSV that generate the most amount of data. Right. So you're seeing gaming apps, social media apps. Imagine doing Instagram and you get paid, Stephen, when someone likes your picture. Yeah.
Yeah, that seems to be I've read about this aspect of the blockchain that people want to move to, and it seems to me, being an artist, I'm very attracted to
Of course.
monopoly away from some of these huge mega corporations and gives people perhaps more financial opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the key thing is there is the incentivization for people to be able to earn an honest living wage. You're a musician. I've seen your music before, and I'm a musician as
Yeah,
well.
and we can talk about Spotify
And
as a
how
perfect
broke we've been.
Oh my God!
Broke
Well,
our sites. Wait,
no,
hold
you
on
know what?
before we get to Spotify. Hold on.
I know somebody that I'm friendly with a band that, and I don't like to name drop, so I won't. But I'm friendly with a band that was all over MTV, that toured with Depeche Mode, that was huge for a long time, right?
Mhm.
And they are on Spotify and literally are getting like $6 checks a month, each of the four of them, and they're getting millions of plays still.
Well,
So
and this
there
is the
is
problem.
just
I mean,
it is a nightmare
mm,
that these companies are able to just dictate. Okay, you got a million plays. We're going to give you $6. You know
mm.
what I mean? And
Well,
people have
this
done
is
analysis of like
yeah.
that huge people on Spotify, huge names are barely making minimum wage.
Well, this is what inspired us to build Blaircast, Blaircast.com, ladies and gentlemen, which is going to be launched very soon. It's a music distribution streaming platform built on the BSV blockchain. So it uses the superpowers of BSV to enable nano transactions to be able to pay artists fairly, equitably, and instantly. And it works with labels and also major labels as well. I think what's happening is often people look at cryptocurrencies and crypto colloquially, and they think, oh, it's gonna, it's decentralized, it's trying to change the world, blah blah blah. But what we're seeing is actually cryptocurrency is very centralized. But when we actually look at Bitcoin, and I mean BSV, Bitcoin SV blockchain, because that's the one that's the real protocol and able to scale infinite or unbounded, should I say, right? We're seeing applications that are now emerging that that basically reinvigorate and empower users so that they own their own data. And so imagine rather than selling your own data and you are the product and you don't receive anything for that and you have to see adverts and you're sold loads of rubbish and these algorithmic feeds just give you stuff to look at, to keep looking so they can give you more adverts. We're seeing an absolute reverse of that. We're seeing applications come out where you can earn BSV, you can get paid for your interaction, you can own your own data, and that is a massive innovation because that's going to lead to an internet that we're seeing emerge that's built on BSV, the real Bitcoin, the genuine Bitcoin, where people were able to make an honest living, people were able to earn and spend economy. It's we're killing and getting rid of this kind of buy crypto and hold it, because
Sure.
that's a Ponzi, right? So I'm going to be brave and say it right now. BTC, ladies and gentlemen, is a Ponzi, and I'll say why it's a Ponzi because if there's no fundamental usage to the network, because it only does 3 transactions a second, if it doesn't even hold its supposed store of gold value, yeah, and it's not being picked up by the governments because it's anti-government. Remember, Stephen, all these people, um, 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 block sizes determine. Yeah, that's a great comment there by the Sixth Sense. Um,
Yeah.
a lot of these people in crypto, Stephen, and for anyone that's owns a house or got children or got family, when you're 20, you're like, yeah, anti-government, yeah, I'm in a rock band. But when you get older, you're like, hang on a minute, let's try not to burn the house down. I've got children
Yeah.
inside. Keep the
Well, you know,
noise down.
I know that you mentioned this Calvin Ayre, and isn't he like sort of a controversial figure? He was, he made his fortune in gambling before moving into
Well,
Bitcoin.
he did. He apparently gave up gambling, his gambling business. It wasn't a gambling business, like I say, gambling business. In fact, from what I know, right, and what a lot of people and himself have said, is that he was one of the forefront people that used the internet for the gambling industry to leverage the payment mechanism. But he apparently threw it all in. Is 100% into BSV. I mean, check calvinair.com and his website. But
And what is
I
your?
want to.
Do you have a business relationship with him too? Like, are you guys both in?
We are building an application that uses this technology, Stephen, because this technology is unparalleled in its unrivaled capability. There isn't all these people in crypto, right? Think about it, Stephen, right? All these people out there in crypto, there's a lot of them that are anti-government. There's a lot of them that are sort of, oh yeah, decentralized down with the dollar, blah 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 blah, right? But what about the notion of building a new global economy? What about the notion of building applications that transform the world? And I will say as well, it's interesting. Someone said Warren Buffett hates crypto. It's interesting. Uh, Hold on, you there, mate? You just muted. Um, it's interesting that a lot of the big entrepreneurs are essentially breaking down BTC. They say it's a speculative asset. There's no real value to it, right? And JB in the house, he says Shem is lying about signatures being moved off chain. They aren't easily confirmed. Shem is not a technical person. I'd beckon you to check out segregated witness because the very nature of it is that they're signed off chain. So that means they're not on chain, right? And maybe I got my terminology wrong, so forgive me. But if it's segregated from the blockchain, it's not a blockchain. And the reason they enabled that technology was to enable Lightning Network. BTC, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm sorry to break it. I mean, everyone wants me to come on and go, it's a moon, it's going to the moon, right? But the reality is that it won't be going to the moon because it's anti-government. It doesn't scale. Yeah. It's non-legally compliant. And it doesn't do enough transactions for planet Earth. So, yeah, I think we're looking at a race between the best technologies, and just because the crowd is in on a coin, yeah, and the number of that coin is valuable at this present moment, doesn't mean that coin's going to be around in 10, 15 years. And I'd like to remind the watchers and listeners as well, that actually there is an incredible revolution in innovation and technology happening, and it's happening on the restored protocol of Bitcoin. And the market isn't aware of this. So, yeah, I beckon people to check it out more.
Can we get back to this Calvin Ayre though? Because doesn't he have sort of a checkered past and a criminal history involved with some of his business dealings?
I don't know, mate. To be honest, I don't know. There's a lot of people out there. I think he might have had something happen.
It's in his Wikipedia. In February 2012, Ayre and 3 other individuals were indicted by the U.S. Attorney of Maryland on charges of illegal gambling and money laundering related to conduct that occurred before the 2006 passage of Unlawful Internet Gambling Enforcement Act. So I guess it was old charges.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, a lot of people grow and develop and stuff like that, and you got to think about it.
He pled guilty to a single misdemeanor charge and admitted to an accessory after the fact charge related to transmission of gambling information in violation of the Federal Wire Act.
And this is interesting as well because a lot of the current people, I don't know if you know.
Yeah, and so he got unsupervised probation and a $500 fine. So.
Well, this is the thing as well. I mean, I can't speak on people's personal legal stories. I'm not familiar with that. But what I can say is about what is happening now, and what we see happening now in cryptocurrency is we're seeing people. I think there was a guy called Fluffy Pony. Google him, Stephen.
Fluffy Pony. Okay.
Yeah, there's a guy that he's got done, and he's from a crypto company, a cryptocurrency. There's a ton of people being run through the SEC, and that's why I think a lot of people don't like that scammy crypto stuff, because that's the casino royale of crypto, and it's coming back to an actual technology that shines light, shines truth, yeah. And when information is held on a central blockchain, there isn't no hiding nefarious activity. I mean, Stephen, a lot of the original protocol applications of BTC started going into Silk Road and all this dodgy scammy stuff,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and isn't IRE is the one funding all of BTC, and is it BTCV or it's five, right? Or is
Well,
that supposed
I
to be
think
around numeral?
Luke's got it. He says Calvin was a pioneer of online gaming. There wasn't any regulatory clarity back then. Those guys were victims. Calvin has since been exonerated. So, and
Exonerated, sure.
I want to know about the people right now that are being run through the courts. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I
you
mean, this is
know,
kind of
I
interesting
want to
to
know
me
about
because
the
it is.
people because
It's
there's
definitely
a
a bit
if
of a circus, with,
yeah
like I said,
there's a
there's a
lot
lot
of
of strange characters
yeah
involved, and I like characters. I'm sorry, it's
and
kind of like
and
interesting to just read about some of the legal wranglings and
well,
stuff that have taken
JB
place
says
in the
that. He
crypto
said, did
world.
Shem explain about BSV as a data storage system? So BSV is a data storage system, and there was a someone trolled BSV and uploaded apparently some child porn. And do you know what they did? The company apparently they pruned the data. They and this is Money Button, and the CEO announced it. He said someone's used our app, right, and put naughty stuff on the chain, and we've passed all that over to legal authorities. And the fact is, those trolls that did that were trying to discolor BSV. So, and I know this is a hard subject for people because a lot of people in crypto, if you
Yeah,
say
and can
bit,
you explain? Wasn't there a hack? Is that the hack that he was talking about recently of this?
no, no,
And
no. What happened was that was an attempted reorg of the blockchain, and what happened there was when people there was a nefarious miner that come onto the network, spent loads of money building a separate blockchain, right,
mm-hmm.
and then put that blockchain attached it to BSV and try to get that block to be what all the blocks would be built on, and essentially take over the chain. Now, all of the miners who are legally compliant, right? And BSV stands for a lot of legal compliance people. All these scammy crypto coins, people were just trying to build applications that are going to do amazing things, right? And what did they do? They orphaned that block, right? So the good miners sitting at the table said, "Hang on a minute, who's that guy that's just turned up? That's not, and got rid of it." So an orphaning of the block is a regular thing that happens. I probably didn't explain that as well, but it was a legal attack. Authorities were notified, right? So yeah, but I mean, I want to come back to what the proof of work is of people that are doing in this space and incredible applications being built, because this is the thing. I mean, you look at all these other cryptocurrencies. I'm starting to lose my voice now. It's pretty late here. Hold on, I need some water. But you look at what's happening, and there's a proliferation of altcoins and stuff like that. And I just want to bring it back to what the actual use cases are for this technology, and that Bitcoin has been restored. This central, unified, restored protocol of truth and light, where data is illuminated for people, right? Where people can own their own data again, where people can make money by using applications rather than selling their data. And that's my real message here today, ladies and gentlemen. I wanted to aspire. Um, See, I'm getting a lot of flack in the trouble. I wanted to inspire because, we're building a music application on this platform. And I think musicians are going to love the fact that they can get paid instantly and fast. And, there's a lot of tribalism in crypto. People like to say, oh, it's a shit coin or this coin or that coin. But, I've tried to break
Yeah, and
down.
it's just to be clear, it's Calvin is funding this music app.
No,
Okay.
this application is funded by Air Ventures, Air Group, and others in the space. And this application is funded by myself and my business partner as well. And we're building something that's going to help businesses out there.
Well, sounds the technology is exciting to me. The technology part of it, but because you never know where these things could lead. There's a lot of potential for
Would you
change
do you
that I
think
think is
bands
good.
would do you think bands would
I
find it
think
useful?
there
I
I
think
think there definitely needs to be incredible competition online, and we should not just leave mega corporations like Apple and Spotify to decide to dictate this is what you're going to get paid. The more competition, the better, because if you're not getting paid, it's just like a job. You know, if you don't get paid well at one job, you quit and you go work somewhere else. And people should have more options. But unfortunately, we're in a situation with monopolies controlling things. They have all the power. They could, Apple and Spotify could come out tomorrow and say, remember what we were paying you? We're going to have to cut that in half. And nobody would have any power to stop them. You know, they could basically just dictate anything they want, right?
Well,
Yeah.
this is the thing. I mean, you know, for me personally, I was a musician. I was in a rock and roll band, and you know, we was really inspired by the capability of the technology, and we want to bring an application that's going to enable artists to get paid instantly, and to be able to help people that want to be able to monetize their content. And I think this technology is going to be really useful for artists. I'm
So
coming to mines now. I'm getting a flack from you lot.
I know you're getting it.
I'm getting beasted. I'm getting beasted by Steven.
He said no, Calvin isn't funding it, but Air Group is. So is that accurate? Air Group is. So Calvin's not funding it. But...
Yeah, well, we got a PR release out. So yeah, we're really happy to be supported by some great people in this space that want to see a legitimate project come out. It's an honor, and if it wasn't for the people that believed in us to make an incredible platform, we're very lucky, and we thank all our partners. You know, that sounds very automated there, Stephen. But you know, I am honoured. You know, I'm just a dude trying to make a project that's going to be useful for people, and we're working on this incredible technology. Yeah, so yeah, I'm getting beasted by the audience, but I appreciate them listening. And
we have a very well informed audience sometimes.
Yeah, no, they're a cool bunch.
I have to admit, you know,
it's 3 a.m. where I am.
I barely, you know, I know, you know, I thought we could dip our toes into this subject, but it's very controversial apparently, and you're not the only controversial. Every time I've seen a show where a guy was advocating one over the other, the audience reacts. People are very passionate in their choice. You know, look at the Dogecoin situation. What do you think of Dogecoin in that situation?
Well, Dogecoin is looking at added and segregated witness, and Dogecoin is a deflationary coin, and it was obviously a meme coin that caught on, and the Doge. I don't want to talk about price, but you know, when someone as big as Elon Musk comes out and says, "Oh, Dogecoin," you know, then obviously lots of people buy into it. Yeah, so list of possible Silk Road Bitcoin bidders.
Yeah, so anybody building off of BSV, well, I mean,
that's not true, actually. That's not true that
Yeah.
Calvin funds everything at BSV. I was at a Bitcoin SV meetup in London, not only tonight, but the other night. It was called Block Dojo. There was an incredible... Block Dojo is an investment firm that is looking to fund over 250 different applications and businesses in the space with seed round of around 100K. Each, I think it is 100K each. So there's lots of intelligent money and people that are looking at this enterprise level technology to scale, and it's all about compliance. You know, I think crypto is crypto, and I think blockchain, the BSV blockchain, is a different thing. It's more of a professionalized space that's about their applications and using the superpowers of what the original Bitcoin protocol could do. And that, I suppose that's, you know, people get very tribal. Oh, this is my coin, that's my coin. I haven't sat here and said anything aggressive to anyone. I was just talking about the technical fundamental fact, you know, and you know, people chase the money. So that's that. Any final questions, Stephen? Because I'm going to turn into a pumpkin soon.
I know it's like 3:00 in the morning where you're at, right?
Absolutely.
Isn't that? No,
Absolutely.
I think we're good, you know, and I appreciate your passion for what you're trying to do, and you know, I will watch that space and see what happens, because I'm interested in the application side, and the businesses that could be built on the technology is what interests me more so than, you know, but then there is also, like I said, like you said, there's so many weird, shadowy, dark things in that world that gives me great pause when I think about jumping back in that arena, even to just trade Bitcoin or whatever. Like, a lot of my friends are trading Bitcoin on an app right now, and that's a little scary to me.
Mm-hmm.
It does seem.
I think
like a
that's,
casino. You know,
there's a great article by called The Crypto Cartel, that I'd recommend. Someone post it in the troll box, and that gives a good summary of the very dark forces. I think a lot of people think BTC is here to save the world, but it's not here to save the world. It can't do anything for the world. It's just a speculative Ponzi, and that goes against people that are probably holding BTC, and they probably attack BSV by picking people apart and stuff like that. But I would say look at people's proof of work. Like you said, you did some naughty stuff when you was younger. But
I sure
are you
did.
doing naughty stuff now?
No, I have a wife and
And
children.
and
I'm trying to
yeah,
stay out of trouble.
so I would say your proof of work is exemplary, that you've got a built history of what you're doing. And there's nothing wrong with entrepreneurs and industrial experts investing in a space and developing it. What's happening is, I think there's a lot of is JB well known by you, by the way?
Yeah, he's been in my live chat a bunch of times. So
You sure? I think
Yeah.
JB reads bit too much Coin Telegraph, if you don't mind me saying. But I love you, JB. Bless you. You should come on the BSV channel.
We have lively live chats here, and we allow a lot of shows would be muting people or not allowing people to ask questions. We like to be a little more open here, and I appreciate your willingness to take the questions and not shy away from tough live chat participants.
No, it's been a pleasure, and I thank the audience as well. Look, at the end of the day, I would say look at what is actually happening and not what people were saying about it. Look at what is being built. It's easy for people to say, "Oh yeah, bad Aussie man, Dr. Craig Wright," but look at the fact that he's spoken about Turing completeness, AI on Bitcoin, metanet, metaverse, all these kind of innovative things that are actually being built and coming out. And I'd look at the actual technical fundamentals as opposed to the kind of generalist tribalism. Those things don't interest me. I'm more interested in the actual technology of what can be done. And proof of stake is centralized as well. So any asset built on a centralized blockchain where stakeholders that own more than 51% of the coin can't make it a valuable commodity. A bit of economic theory, because if me and Stephen own all the coins, then that coin isn't really fundamentally technically worth anything. So, and those kinds of technologies can be built on proper blockchain. So I think what we're going to see, and blessed JB in the chat, what we're going to see is, but I don't think JB understands and done enough homework. He's more than welcome to come on my channel and we have a chat about it. And I would give you some airspace.
I hope that you let him. So I want to thank you for joining us, and maybe we'll do it again sometime. I wish you the best of luck, and especially in the technical side of things. I hope that you do make some changes, especially to the world of online music streaming and how much musicians get paid. That would be a great change in the world, and I hope you get to do that.
No sweat, man. Take it easy, buddy, and thank you very much.
Night. All right, friends. Boy, this may be why we never really cover crypto. It is a hot button. It is. People are very passionate about what they believe, about what coins are great and what coins people should avoid. I'm no expert, so I may have been a little too uninformed before tonight's show, and for that I apologize. And you can follow Six Senses, reminding people where they can follow Shem Booth-Spain if they want to learn more about our guest tonight, who I thank for joining, and thank for coming and being an interesting guest for sure. This is one of the reasons, however, that I have avoided. People ask me to do shows on crypto. I'm certainly no expert, had some early involvement, but it was so long ago, and I just don't keep up. But I do know that many of my friends are doing crypto trading on those apps, Robinhood and others. And I'm partially too poor and partially too cheap, and I feel like it's just like going to the casino. I might as well there's a casino a half hour from me. I might as well just go and sit at a slot machine, and that to me is very similar to sitting there in the morning going, all right, which coin may go up by the end of the day? So I buy the coins. I have friends that do this. They buy the coins in the morning, they sell the coins at night after they've gone up a few bucks or whatever, and they try to win in what I consider a casino. I am also very suspect of many of the, business. There's a lot of shady business dealings surrounding crypto, and that has kept me from jumping in. And again, the whole casino aspect. My interest has always been in the technology of the blockchain and crypto, and the anonymity, the privacy, I'm sort of anti-government myself, so I like the idea of crypto, of having some form of currency that could, was out of the hands of world governments and independent of that. That was the promise, but what we really got now is this. It's somewhat of a circus, I would say, and that is where I'm at with this. So I want to thank each and every one of you for joining us. We are going to be taking a few detours, and I hope that our audience, from normal topics that we cover, and I hope that our audience will indulge me so that we get a little more than the same subjects all the time. Um, I want to thank each and every one of you for joining us. We'll be doing an after party for tonight's show in our Discord. Watch my Twitter. I will post a new invite. I think the old one may have expired. I will post a new invite to our Discord server. We'll be in there for a show after party right after the broadcast ends, and you can come and talk to me. I'm sorry I didn't have very much time to interact with the audience tonight, but I'm glad that you are all here. So, what can I say, folks? I'm always happy when there's an audience. I'm so happy that you could come here today and be a part of mine. Until next time, friends, my name is Stephen Cambian. Good night, and God bless all of you.